Hi, everyone. So today the lesson is going to be about examining rising Islamophobia in the United States post 9/11. So the curriculum standards that are going to be included in this lesson is 11.10, which is social and economic change slash domestic issues occurring from 1945 to present time. And this covers racial, gender, and socioeconomic inequalities were addressed by individuals, groups, and organizations. Varying political philosophies prompted debates over the role of the federal government in regulating the economy and providing a social safety net. And the ELA literacy standards that are covered in this lesson are 11-12.1, 12.2, and 11-12.7. And all of these standards really just help students improve their critical media literacy skills to analyze and come to conclusions. So the lesson objectives are students will be able to examine how Islamophobia began to rise in the United States by analyzing different sources, and all of these sources will be provided to them in the lesson. Students will be able to identify Muslim figures who contribute to spreading awareness and activism by reviewing different sources and answers discussion questions based on the lesson. Students will be able to analyze two sources and analyze their findings by completing annotations. And lastly, students will be able to understand how 9/11 impacted the lives of Muslim Americans by revisiting the events itself. And the aim for this lesson is going to be students will be able to understand how the events of September 11, 2001 contributed to the exponential rise of Islamophobia. So the do now for this lesson, there's going to be two questions which students will be expected to hand in at the end of class so the teacher can sort of understand what they came in the lesson knowing and what they left learning. So the questions are as listed, and hopefully it gives the teacher just an overall good understanding of what occurred in the lesson. So to start, what is 9/11? On September 11, 2001, two planes were hijacked and flown into the Twin Towers in Manhattan, New York, and other places like the Pentagon and Pennsylvania were targeted by the same terrorist organization, which was Al Qaeda. And this day marked the worst attack on American soil, with a total of nearly 3,000 people that were killed, and 400 of those were police officers and firefighters. And another attack that occurred was the Pentagon building in Washington, D.C., and in a plane near Pennsylvania, which was actually crashed because the passengers attempted to retake the plane from the hijackers and unfortunately ended up crashing. So, what is Islamophobia? Islamophobia is basically the dislike of or prejudice against Islam or Muslims, especially used as a political force. Islamophobia targets Muslims. However, it is much easier to target Muslim women because of the hijab. Men are also easily recognizable due to beards and traditional clothing, but as it was stated, Muslim women are an easy target because the hijab is universally known as something that can be associated with Islam itself. Islamophobia is also the irrational fear of Muslims, making them seem as if they are all terrorists. Al Qaeda, the terrorist organization that claimed responsibility for 9/11, were a group of Islamic extremists who do not represent the belief of Muslims or Islam at all. After the attacks of 9/11, terror or terrorist is a word people started to wrongfully associate with Islam. So, on your own time, hopefully, you guys can watch these two videos and then answer these questions because these questions will be answered more easily after you watch these videos. And these are the videos. What emotions did you feel while watching the videos? Second one is after Al Qaeda claimed responsibility for this horrific act, many people began to associate Islam with the attacks. Do you think this was a reasonable thing for them to do? And lastly, following up on question two, if people did not jump to conclusions and did not act on their emotions from 9/11, do you think things would be different now? And all these questions really help improve students' critical media literacy skills. So the continuing struggle of Muslim Americans and Muslims abroad. After 9/11, a domino effect of violence broke out in the Middle East. This was happening because of America's constant involvement in foreign nations, and many people argue that America's involvement is the direct reason why the Middle East has so much instability. Once again, many of the reasons by the US government is that it is being done in an effort to maintain national security. So some major events that happened following 9/11 were the ongoing wars in the Middle East, entering Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and the instability in many other countries, the massive funding of countries like Israel funding them to go against the Palestinian people, which is something we see that is happening right now. Immigration and deportation began to rise a lot, and the ICE, which is U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, was also developed, and the agency overseen a massive increase in deportations, and it really doubled since 9/11. And another thing is the national security. Going on airplanes was just so different. You have to like go through a lot of security checkpoints, and the Department of Homeland Security was created, and it's responsible for counterterrorism, cybersecurity, and border security, port security, and just basically national security. And the Patriot Act was also created, which increased surveillance on American citizens extensively. Oh, sorry. Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay. So an activity I would give the students is to read this article, which I wish I could show you guys now, but you would have to do it on your own time, and you would annotate it, which also will help you draw better conclusions and analysis skills. So this is a part of the article that I found very important, which highlights how when the terrorist attacks of September 11th occurred, how the lives of Muslims drastically changed in the United States, and how a lot of hate crimes were committed against them. So this is another article which highlights yet another reason why Islamophobia was created after 9/11, and shows a lot of bigotry and violence that was happening towards Muslim Americans. And this paragraph specifically highlights how the attacks caused an aftershock, which was Islamophobia, unfortunately. So some discussion questions based off of those two articles is, can you come to the conclusion that 9/11 caused a spike in Islamophobia? Why or why not? Do you think the fear people had toward Muslims was misguided? How? After 9/11, things like Homeland Security and the Patriot Act were created. This was done for national security reasons. Is this a coded sentiment to target Muslims? Provide any real life examples you may know of. So this is something that hit all of us at home, and not a lot of people really know about it. And it's a case of Islamophobia at Brooklyn College. This is actually a documentary that I really recommend you should watch using your Brooklyn College credential logins to actually watch this documentary. It's called Watched, and it's about how the NYPD sent in an undercover worker to pose as a student and club member of a Muslim association club. And for 4 years, this student pretended to be part of the Brooklyn College community, pretended to convert to Islam, and the minute she converted to Islam, she would ask people, "When did we learn about suicide bombings?" And this was one of the things that Muslims hear a lot of, like NYPD going into mosques and having cameras set up in women's sections, which is really prohibited in the religion, and just making them feel like targets and as if everything they do is wrong. So this is Muslims going against the status quo, and it's many people that are still in our government, and it's United States Representative Ihlan Omar, American activist in the Sarsour, United States Representative Andre Carson, Ibrahim Ayasa, and Keith Ellison, and Rashida Tlaib. So a lot of people are very against Representative Ihlan Omar. And like I said earlier, women who are part of Islam are easy targets because of the hijab. And she wears a hijab herself. And all these people who are usually predominantly white men always target her, especially through social media. One of them was being Donald Trump. They call her outright terrorist. They call her an illegal immigrant. And then Congressman Greg Murphy, when Ihlan Omar was talking about the unfortunate events of the Capitol attack, he told her would have been worse if they had been flying planes into the buildings also, which is a really just cruel statement to make, because you're just associating the attacks with Islam over and over again, even till this day, and you're spreading that cruel rhetoric to American citizens and making them believe that it's right. So other instances of Islamophobia is the Muslim ban signed into law by former President Donald Trump, France banning the hijab for girls under the age of 18 and banning it from being worn in certain places, and the continuous rhetoric from politicians and other people stating Muslims pose a threat to America's democracy, which makes no sense because many Muslim Americans are part of American democracy and spread that democracy. So the homework assignment for this lesson, I would assign students a 2 to 3 page essay, and the prompt would be explain what Islamophobia is and how the events of 9/11 changed the lives of Muslims in America and abroad. What can people or the federal government do to maintain the spread of Islamophobia? Provide your general thoughts on the situation in your concluding paragraph. Due in person by Wednesday, May 26th. And an extra credit assignment would be to take a look at this website that I provided, which is a very interesting website, which shows the crime rates against Muslims after 9/11, which sort of support the claim of Islamophobia spreading after 9/11. And this assignment really would help the teacher understand the students' knowledge of the topic because they would hand in their do now assignment as well. And we would see that they probably didn't know that much before the lesson. And now we'd see that they did learn or they didn't. And if they didn't, we would know what to cover with them in the next lesson. So thank you all so much. And hopefully this lesson has brought some information to you. And I really encourage you all to check the videos and links that I provided in this lesson, and you will see it on the discussion board. Thank you all.